this circus. I felt like I was in a circus, and I'm like, what the heck is going on here, and why this is not working?
Mm.
So I guess I was forced to come off it, and I'm like, okay, if this is not working, I obviously have to find another way. And this is when I started to dig deeper, and I discovered a couple of things. Like, for example, wild yam cream is amazing and in boosting the actual progesterone production, and that was really, really helpful. Then I also started to look what is causing the estrogen dominance, which, everything we are surrounded by, plastics, all those xenoestrogens, also phytoestrogens, which are in food, particularly soy products. All those things drive estrogen, or even mimicking things which mimic estrogen, and it just causes this chaos, the hormonal
Mm.
chaos in the system.
And we are live. Welcome to another episode of the Carnivore Evolution podcast. Elvira, how are you?
I'm very good. I'm very good, Mark.
Did
It is lovely
did
to
I
be
pron-
here. Thank you.
did I pronounce your name right?
You did. My name is Elvira Nawrocka. I'm originally from Poland.
Nice, nice. So we're going to talk everything about menopause. I know you're into this space. Yeah, I know you're coaching this as well. But before we start talking about that, give me some background on yourself. Talk to me a little bit about yourself. So how did you get into this space first of all?
That can be a bit of a long-winded uh, question slash answer. So I guess I arrived at this space by having my own health crisis, health collapse. I'm 47 at the moment. I'm obviously in the perimenopausal age, but years ago I struggled with Hashimoto thyroiditis. I had a chronic
Mm,
fatigue, burnout, but also very big hormonal issues, which I discovered about 9 years ago. But to be quite honest, when you look at the symptoms now, in hindsight, knowing what I know now, I know this has been going on for a very, very long time, like way before I was diagnosed. So when I initially got my diagnosis, and my naturopath, because I don't really subscribe to doctors very much, so I went to see a naturopath, and she put me on the medication. She put me on a bioidentical hormone to help to stabilize the hormone levels, which indeed helps. But when I started to dig into things, I quickly discovered that instead of fixing the issue, those hormones just balance the thyroid in the bloodstream. And actually,
mm,
as a result, because I was taking the medication, it can make the thyroid a bit lazy. It's like a muscle,
mm,
So if
mm,
if the muscle is not working, it's actually going to, it's just going to get smaller and lazier. That's how it works, right? So I guess that led me to, I wanted to start digging. Also, I didn't really like the idea that what my naturopath said to me, I'm going to have to take this for the rest of my life. I didn't like this. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to stop it. So I stopped the hormones, and I went down a very deep rabbit hole, and different treatments, holistic treatments, changing the diet completely, doing all sorts of detoxes, a fast, a water fast, and juice fast, and acupuncture and acupressure, and homeopathy and colonics. And I mean, you name it, I've done it all pretty much.
mm,
And and it was a really wonderful journey, to be honest, because I learned a lot. I learned that basically our lifestyle and our choices when it comes to food, and basically impact on what's happening with the body. A body is going to give us a direct response to what you're putting in. And if you're putting
mm,
something toxic, if people eat a lot of processed food, then the response it might not be instant, but at some point it's going to come up. So
mm,
everything was kind of hunky dory. The only thing which I still struggled for many, many years was chronic fatigue. So I was relying on coffee quite a lot. And then I hit the perimenopausal age around 45 years old, so 2.5 years ago. And then everything just came back with, not everything, but things started to decline. So again, went down a deep rabbit hole thinking, what am I doing wrong and why this is happening again? And, I've spent so much time and so much money on trying to heal myself naturally. So I was pretty mad at all this because I'm like, I'm not supposed to be having those symptoms.
And what
And
symptoms were you going through?
so my period started to become irregular. I also, for many, many years, I also had tenderness in the breast tissue. Um, there was also weight gain, which I couldn't shift. And definitely my mood was, I had major mood swings and, anxiety. Um, I wouldn't say I had hot flashes, but I had something like this internal heat, like you are sitting inside the oven, but you're not sweating. So I don't know. It was pretty intense, and it was driving me nuts. It was very, very severe. Um, and actually, I again went to see a naturopath. So we did all the testing, and we discovered that I have big estrogen dominance, and the
Mm,
progesterone levels are low. And she put me on the bioidentical progesterone. And again, my body didn't like it. Everything
mm,
backfired. And actually, my period regularity was even worse, to the point that I couldn't even take it, because you're supposed to take it at whatever 21st day to 28th day. I can't even remember now. And I couldn't do this because my cycle was between 10 days to 60 days. It was, I mean, it was a circus. I felt like I was in a circus. And I'm like, what the heck is going on here and why this is not working?
mm,
So I guess I was forced to come off it. And I'm like, okay, if this is not working, I obviously have to find another way. And this is when I started to dig deeper. And I discovered a couple of things, like, for example, wild yam cream is amazing and in boosting the actual progesterone production, and that was really, really helpful. Then I also started to look what is causing the estrogen dominance, which, everything, we are surrounded by plastics, that all those xenoestrogens, also phytoestrogens, which are in food, particularly soy products. All those things drive estrogen, or even mimicking things which mimic estrogen, and it just causes this chaos, the
mm,
hormonal chaos in the system. And then I guess the final piece for me was water, because I live in Bali. We have access only to bottled water, which means it's also full of microplastics and contaminants. But once I discovered alkalized water, electrolyzed reduced water, this was kind of the missing puzzle for me, which led to discovery how toxicity, acidosis, dehydration, and stress are basically the main causes
mm,
of symptoms, perimenopausal symptoms. And actually, when you think about it, if we zoom out, and this is something I teach women, that if we zoom out, a lot of those issues, issues of digestion, bloating, weight gain, joint pain, a lot of women struggle with osteoporosis, and that's why some doctors prescribe HRT, because they say it prevents it, which actually it doesn't. When you zoom out, a lot of those issues were happening in the body before the hormones started to shift.
mm,
What nobody talks about is that because we have those hormones operating relatively okay,
mm,
the body to cope. So it was working. It was working with what it was given at the time. But because we are going through the hormonal shift, and the hormones, initially they're produced in the ovaries, but then after the hormonal shift, we actually start to rely on adrenals. If those adrenals are drained, and during the transition period, the body just doesn't have capacity to hold the fires happening in the body elsewhere.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, so metabolic distress, acidosis, high toxic load. It's just like, okay, I need to focus on this. So all of those symptoms all of a sudden come online, but actually they were there long before.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what I've discovered, you know, being my own guinea pig pretty much, and just digging deeper and deeper and deeper, and I guess zooming out.
Mm.
So does that answer your question?
That does no, it does answer my question, because I think this is important. I think at the end of the day, you need to do this research on yourself, because there's so much information out there about menopause
Mhm.
and what you should do. Um, and I'm not against HRT, never have been. But from working with women, I've worked with an awful lot of women in the past, like a lot of women, and they say the same thing as you. They're on HRT, but it's not doing anything. They're, if anything, it's causing more problems. And I think you're noticing things like, okay, they're still having their heavy periods. They're getting moody. They've lost their sex life, and
Mhm.
they're gaining weight for no particular reason. And I'm like, okay, well, we need to talk a little bit more here, okay? Because your hormones are out of whack here, and this is what really frustrates me, because the experts will say that your hormones are out of balance. We know they're out of balance, but how do we actually solve the problem? So are we actually going to solve this by supplements and medication, or are we going to look at the root cause? And
Mhm.
and when we look at the root cause, yes, we can look at external factors that you spoke about, but I believe also it comes down to what you're feeding your body, and
Yes.
the type of stress that you have in your life. External stress like training, like under eating, this causes an awful lot of stress also. And then when we look at hormones, okay, hormones in general, okay, without testosterone you cannot make hormones. It really is that simple. Now what's the information that we're told? We're told to follow a low calorie diet when we want to lose weight, correct?
Mhm.
They
And
don't
low
tell that.
fat.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they say low fat. Now think about this for a second. Your body needs testosterone. So if for you to regulate your hormones, what does that mean? Testosterone, fat. That's what you need. So this is what drives me crazy, because this is what I get from women all the time. Women all the time say to me, "But you're a man. How can you possibly understand what a woman is going through?" Now that's a fair point. But I have a lot of experience working with women. So
Mm.
I know this area very well. And the reason why I know it is because I've had many ladies that have been able to make estrogen again. Many of them that were told
Mhm.
that this wasn't possible without HRT. Many of these women have been told that, listen, you will have to go down this route of IVF to become fertile.
Mm.
This is
Mhm.
what this is what I'm told. I take these women on, and within 6 months of putting them on a high fat diet, these women are having babies. These women have been told that this is never going to happen without IVF. Do you know how much IVF costs in this country?
A lot. How
You're
much
you're
is
looking at you're looking at a lot of money, a lot of money.
Mhm.
You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And I'm getting these random messages off these women saying to me, "You're a miracle worker. How can you possibly help me through this when no doctor or no specialist in the world could do this?" It's honestly, and when I get these messages, it brings tears to my eyes when I'm getting random
Absolutely.
messages from these women saying, "I cannot believe it, Mark. I'm gonna have a baby. I can't believe it. I was actually going to spend fortunes to get this done."
Mm.
It's absolutely criminal that this is what we're doing to women, because you're been told that as you get older, you're broken.
Yes,
This is what
exactly. And this
you're
is
been told, that okay, this is normal. As you reach 40, this is just normal. This just happens to your body. Bullshit. Absolute
bullshit. Yeah.
bullshit. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? what we need to understand is this: you need to start listening to your hormones. You need to start taking into consideration your thyroid, your cortisol, your gut health, your stress levels. There's so many things that you need to factor in here. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
because I can tell you right now, and you're probably going to say the same thing. You're not broken. The problem is this: the information that you're getting from these top experts all over the world is wrong. These people are letting you down big time. And then when you are struggling, these people are running out of options. They don't know how to solve this problem. So they're saying to you, okay, you need to be on HRT. You need to be on HRT. There's no other option here. This is what you need to do. Now, like I said, I have no problem with HRT as long as we look at other stuff first. Okay, look at other stuff first, and that should be food. Now,
Mm-hmm.
if we've solved all those problems, we're looking after your stress levels. We're looking after, like you said, all the external stuff. We're feeding our body the right way. If that doesn't work, then we can look towards HRT,
Yes.
but not until we do this first.
Yes. And am I right that in, like, I don't know if it's the same in Ireland, but in the UK, you can go to a GP and you get prescribed HRT without even any blood tests,
Yes.
just based on
Yeah.
symptoms. That is
Absolutely.
bonkers.
It's
That is
crazy. It's
absolutely
crazy.
bonkers.
Drives me honestly. It drives me crazy that you're not asking these questions to your doctor. It drives me crazy. When you go in and get blood work done, what you should be asking more questions instead of just going by, okay, what he says. He will say to you, okay, your cholesterol is too high. But what about my fasting insulin? Why don't you
Mm.
not ask about your fasting insulin? You know what I mean? There's other things that you need to be looking at here. Not just
Yeah,
not
and
just about
also,
what he,
nobody is asking about the lifestyle, about the
yeah.
nutrition, about, the toxic load in the
Hmm.
body. Nobody is talking about this. And
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
are literally the most crucial elements because ultimately the HRT, and there is a place for it. I don't negate allopathic medicine because
Mm.
if your body is under huge amount of stress, it is better to take the medication because the stress can be more damaging to the system than the medication. But don't
Yeah.
think about it of just a fixed, you cannot bypass things because
Yeah.
ultimately, if you take medication for XYZ, then you're going to have side effects, and then you need to take
Absolutely.
medication for the side effects, and then this other
Absolutely.
medication is going to have some other side effects, and then you start to think, hang on a second, so, and then this is going to be a bold statement here, but does the medical system actually trying to heal us or trying to keep us in the loop?
Exactly. Exactly. I
Because
mean
this is
that this
where
this
I'm.
this I mean at the end of the day, we're meant to get older and we're meant to be still thriving. You're not meant to get older. You're not meant to be older and suffering because this is what we're seeing at the moment. As you get older, you're suffering. You're on medication, and you're
Mhm.
and you're been told, okay, if you're overweight, you just need to lose weight. That's all you need to do. You need to lose weight. That's all you've been told. So if you want to get healthy, you just need to lose weight. But they tell you nothing about the food that you're eating. They tell you nothing
Mhm.
about how stress impacts your body. And you need to think about it. If you're putting a lot of stress on your body, whereas if you're going into the gym and you're running yourself into the ground and you're doing too much cardio, and then you're tying that in with you're on a deficit, you're on these low calorie diets, you're putting your body in a situation that it doesn't want to be in. Your body's going to fight back and it's going to say, you know what, I can't do this anymore. I just cannot do this
Yeah.
anymore. And then
Yes.
you're going to give up. You're going to give up. You're going to put all this pressure on yourself. And then all of a sudden, then the guilt kicks in. You're blaming yourself and you're saying, well, why is it me? Why is it I'm the one that's broken here? Why is it that everybody else can lose the weight easily, but there's something wrong with me? There's nothing wrong with you. There's
Mhm.
absolutely nothing wrong with you. You can still lose weight. It's just the information that you're getting is wrong. That's the problem.
Yes, totally. And also, when we are exposed to stress, we're talking about a mental stress, but also we're talking about physical metabolic
Mhm.
stress. We're not with all the toxicity, dehydration, and acidosis. we are under huge amount of physical stress. That stress, cortisol, directly impacts progesterone levels. It just
Yes.
drops, and then
Yeah.
everything gets out of whack. And the progesterone is so important for us.
Absolutely. And see, cortisol in general is good for us. So stress in general is good. It's only when it becomes chronic. When it
Yes.
becomes chronic and out of control, that's when we have a serious problem. So when we look at what the experts recommend, okay, so this is what I hear all the time from these ladies that I work with. So these ladies have been told, okay, you need to move more. Okay, this is what I'm told. You need to move more. You need to add in some strength training. Okay, your diet needs to be on point. So when you go deeper into the diet, you're asking them the questions. Okay, what does your diet look like? They're saying like, okay, they're eating the fiber, they're eating the proteins, they're eating the carbohydrates. Okay, so they will class this as healthy. Okay, so they'll say, okay, fiber is very, very healthy. This is what you need to be consuming. All right. So then you ask them the question. You ask them the simple question. How do you feel? How do you just ask them a simple question? How do you feel? Most of these women will say, I don't feel good. There's something not right. I can't put my finger on it, but I just don't feel right. Okay, are you taking medication? Yeah, I'm taking digestive enzymes, HRT, all this kind of stuff. Okay, then maybe the diet that you're on at the moment is probably the problem. And then they're asking me, what do you mean? Well, what have I said to you that your body doesn't need any carbohydrates? None.
Mm.
Your body doesn't need any carbohydrates to function. None. And then they're asked, and then you say to them, what about? And then they're asking them like, okay, did you also realize that your body doesn't need any fiber either? So there's two food groups that you're being told to eat on a daily basis that has no nutritional value in it whatsoever. None. And then you go deeper into it and you say, well, what's your energy levels like? And they'll say, well, I'm always tired. Always, always tired. And then you go a little bit deeper into it and say, well, did you know that we can rely on another energy source? And then they're asking, what energy source is that? We can rely on fats, and they keep you going for a long period of time. So see that mid-afternoon crash that you have when it comes to 1 o'clock, where you feel tired and yet you feel like you have to have a nap. That's the carbohydrates. Whereas when you become fat adapted, that's all gone. Like it's
Mm.
you have tons of energy. Plus your hormones get regulated the right way. They're back functioning the way they should be. Okay. So what happens is your health gets back to normal. And once your health gets back to normal and everything's functioning the way it should be, your insulin, your leptin, your cortisol, like your thyroid, we can go on and on and on. Like there's so many. Everything just working perfectly. When
How
you're
it's supposed to be. Mhm.
Absolutely. And when your body works perfectly well, what happens? You lose the weight very, very easily.
Yeah, yeah,
You know what I mean? You get your cycle back. You don't have these heavy you
absolutely.
don't you don't have these heavy periods anymore. No more pains. You have an amazing sex life. Like the list goes on and on and on. You
Yeah,
know what I
I
mean? It's
totally,
just
and
it's
it's,
just
but that's the
crazy.
thing. It's easier, it's better to focus on those little things. And like the amount of stuff now women are told to take the magnesium, take this and that. And it's because the estradiol is wrong or something else is wrong. And then like literally they are pushing us women to, I don't know, become some sort of scientist or a doctor, and you're like
Mm,
trying to zoom in and trying to understand without actually zooming out and looking at the baseline.
absolutely.
Because again, like this is a symptom that things have been off, things have not been working properly for a long time.
Mm,
It's just the hormonal shift all of a sudden exposes all of this. Would you
mm.
agree?
Absolutely, 100%. Because you sent me a message earlier on. What's my opinion on peptides and GLP-1 injections? And my first question would simply be this: why do you need them in the first place?
Yeah. I was
Like,
actually
why?
wondering because it's like I have people in my proximity. They've just got themselves onto this peptide and GL page something one. I don't even like. I can't even pronounce it properly. And like, exactly, why do you need it in the first place?
Hmm. Like why? Like when you think about it, like that's the first question I would ask all the time. Okay, you're telling me these, you're saying these are amazing, but why do you need it? Like you need to be testing this on yourself. You need to be asking yourself, okay, why do I need to rely on these medications, whatever they are? Why is it that I need to rely on it? Can I not do this myself if I focus on, if I put the right steps in place, work on my lifestyle, work on my sleep, my food, my training? Can I not look at this first before I go down this route? Of course you can. Of course you can. But here's the problem. That information is out there, but you're not willing to listen to it. Because when they hear the likes of us saying that, okay, you can actually accomplish all your goals very, very quickly on the carnivore diet, nobody wants to do it because they're
It's
they're
too difficult.
convinced they're convinced that this is going to lead to a heart attack, this is going to lead to heart disease. There's no way in hell this is going to cure, this is going to manage all my symptoms on its own. But how do you know until you actually try it? So you're willing to do them, you're willing to go down the medication route, but
Mm.
you're not willing to give this a try. Like, how does it make sense? How?
You know, I don't know what you think about this, but I sometimes feel that the system is training us to give up our critical thinking. It's like rely on this. This is the quick fix. You know, we have, so everybody is literally chasing this, quick fix,
That's what it is. Yeah, quick fix.
easy way out without actually looking deeper what is going on in the body. Nobody's listening to the bodies anymore. I mean, if you
No.
have a headache, instead of asking yourself, why do I have a headache? Did I drink enough water? Or maybe there's something else going on. I'm just going to pop a paracetamol or Panadol,
Mm,
whatever, right? That's
mm.
basically where we're heading.
But see, that's the problem. When you look at somebody in the gym and who looks amazing, who has a six pack, the ladies, they have the figure. We automatically think by looking at these people they're healthy.
Oh, no, definitely
You
not.
know what I
I
mean? But we
can
have,
actually see it.
but
Hmm.
but that's what I'm saying. We have no idea what's going on in the inside of the body. Because I was one of these people. I was one of these people. What I used to take my top off to market myself. I used to go into the gym and take my top off and say, "Look at my body. This is what you can accomplish eating this way." But nobody had any idea what I was going through. I had mental health issues. I had gut issues. The list goes on. I had inflammation problems. So I had a lot going on in the background that people hadn't got a clue. Hadn't got a clue.
Mm.
And I was convinced that, okay, I'm working in the fitness space here. I should be able to figure this out myself. I should be able to figure this out. There's no way in hell am I going to see my doctor and being put on antidepressants. I should be able to figure this out myself. And I tried for years. For years and years and years, I tried. I was like, okay, I tried every single diet. Every single diet I tried. And I just couldn't figure it out. Just could not figure it out. And it was all experiments. That's all it
Mm.
was. It was just experiments on my body to see what was right. And I always found that I actually do a lot better without carbohydrates. Just for some reason, I kept on saying I just do better without carbohydrates. But then the experts kept on saying to me, carbohydrates are not the problem here. I was told by everybody, keep them in your diet. Carbohydrates are not the problem. I was told that fiber is not the problem. Keep fiber in your diet. So I was like, okay, I'm going to keep this in my diet. And I was taught this in school. And I was like, but there's something not right with me. So I was questioning myself. I was questioning, okay, I'm broken. I feel I'm broken. I feel like I'm going to be on medication for the rest of my
Exactly,
life.
exactly. Yes.
I just couldn't get the answers. And that's why I had to do research. I had to do research and say, well, hang on, there must be something else out there. There must be. And that's when I came across keto. And I said, right, you know what? I've tried this in the past. This time I'm going to try it again. And just let's see what happens. I'm gonna go right in and give it a few more months. And I did. But something still wasn't right. And I still couldn't figure it out. And I was on vegetables and I was eating the protein, but I wasn't eating enough fats. I was eating it
Mm.
like a moderate amount of fat. And the fats that I was consuming would have been like peanut butter, almond butter, avocados, stuff like that. You know what I mean? And I still couldn't figure it out. And then 6 years ago, I came across this podcast, and this guy starts speaking about carnivore. Never heard of carnivore in my life, ever. And all he kept on saying was he's just eating meat. That's it. Nothing else, red meat. And I said, this guy's crazy. There's no way is this going to work. But the more he kept on talking about it, I was like, his story resonates strongly with mine. So I said to myself, I'm just going to try it. I'm going to give it a week and let's see what happens. Oh my God. That's all I'll say. Wow. Most of my issues were gone. Gone.
Mm-hmm.
I was waking up every day, and instead of being depressed, I was waking up day and I was feeling great. I had so much energy. So I said to myself, if this is doing something for me, imagine what this could do for the rest of the world. So I said, right, I'm going to do another month. I'm going to do another month eating this way. And then if this does amazing things, if I get better do eating this way over a week, over a month, I'm definitely going to start coaching this. So that's what I did. After a month, I studied this shit for 6 to 8 months. I was on the PC every single day and I was studying the carnivore diet. I looked at the likes of Ken Berry, Dr. Shafee, Dr. Kiltz. Dr. Kiltz was a big influence on my life, massive influence, because I work with an awful lot of women. So he knows a lot about menopause, fertility, PCOS, all that kind of stuff. So I was like, okay, this is my niche. This is my market. I need to understand this. So when women come to me and they start talking about endometriosis, menopause, PCOS, fibromyalgia, obesity, fertile issues, all that kind of stuff, I need to know what I'm talking about. I need to know what I'm talking about because there's going to be so many experts out there that are going to be trying to come on and have a debate with me. So I need to know what I'm doing. So that's what I did. I stepped aside from my ordinary coaching and I went fully deep into this for 8 months. And I took on my first clients free clients. This person had menopause. This person had it. She was a type 2 diabetic. She was on a list of medication. I can't remember exactly, maybe about 12 pills she was taking in daily. And I worked with this woman for 3 to 5 months. 3 to 5 months. Within 6 weeks, we were able to put her type 2 diabetes into remission. Into remission, gone. Solved it. No
It's
problem.
incredible. Mm-hmm.
Within 12 weeks, was it about 10 or 12 weeks, she came off all her medication. All of it. Okay. Our periods, our cycles all became back normal. Everything back to normal. She was no longer moody. She was no longer cranky. She was no longer hungry on a regular basis. She was losing the weight with ease. Easily.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? She was full on a regular basis. She wasn't thinking about food anymore. You know what I mean? Our sleep was getting better. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So I was like, oh my God, if this is done. So I said to her, okay, can you just give me a testimonial and tell me like what this has done for you? And ever since I put that testimonial up on my page, I just blew up. I literally blew up. I had women all over the world reaching out to me and saying, I want to work with you. This is what I'm
Mm-hmm.
this is what I'm going through at the moment. Nobody else can figure this out apart from you. And this is what I've been doing. And I honestly, I don't know how many women I've worked with in the last 6 years. It's probably over 200 at this stage. And I can guarantee at least 80% of them, at least 80% of them are menopausal. At least
Mm-hmm.
80%.
Mm-hmm. And they are all getting better, right?
Every one of them are thriving now. Every one
So
of them are, it's amazing. It's amazing.
I wanted to ask you a question. So, when you were told that you need to eat more fiber and more carbohydrates, what actually was it? Like, can you give me a list of like few products you were eating?
With the carbohydrates.
Yes,
Yeah, so the
and fiber.
carbohydrates would yeah, so the carbohydrates would have been clean carbohydrates, like complex carbohydrates, like rice, sweet potatoes, quinoa, and then when it comes to your vegetables, anything goes pretty much. Broccoli, cauliflower, asparagus, lettuce, just fiber in general. And then I was having the seeds, I was having the whole grains. Um, so yeah, I was getting a lot of fiber in on a daily basis. I'd say around, I don't know, maybe about 40 grams of of fiber a day, roughly. And my diet wasn't bad. So
Mm.
it wasn't simple carbohydrates. I wasn't eating crap. I was
No
eating good
wheat, no
carbohydrates.
pasta,
No,
right? None of the
no. I
processed
mean,
stuff.
if I was eating any bread, it would have been probably once or twice a week.
Hmm.
But mainly eating like sweet potatoes, rice, quinoa, pasta, like clean carbohydrates. Um, and as I said, I was convinced that my diet was clean. I was convinced that it wasn't the carbohydrates. I was eating a lot of fruits as well. I was eating about 3 or 4 portions of fruit a day, like apples, bananas, grapes, berries. So when you looked at my plate, I when you look at my plate, it was you would look at it and say it was healthy, completely healthy, and it was. But I just couldn't figure out why I wasn't feeling good. And
Mm.
I was eating all this healthy food, and it made a difference to the way I looked. So I looked amazing. As I said, I had the abs, I had the body, I looked amazing, but I just didn't feel amazing, and that's the
Mhm.
difference.
Yeah. So, I have a theory about this because, there's a reason why I asked what were the high carbs because, a lot of people still eat wheat, pasta, bread. And unfortunately, what this means is that we consume glyphosate and it
Hmm.
completely messes up the gut microbiome. And worse, it accumulates in the body. This is how, when I mentioned toxicity, the toxicity definitely comes into place because, again, if you're eating all those fruit and vegetables, all of them are sprayed with pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, and I don't know what else. And you can't take it off with just washing them in water. It actually quite
Yes.
opposite. If you wash this in tap water,
Hmm.
the fruit and vegetables are actually going to absorb chlorine from the water,
Exactly.
which is right.
Exactly.
So it's
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
so by removing those elements, unless you find a way to clean the vegetables and fruit from the pesticides, we are going to be ingesting the chemicals, the toxicity.
That's
And
why I.
another thing, we talked about it before we jumped on the podcast, is that another issue is that, back in the day, 50 years ago, 100 years ago, when we ate food from earth,
Exactly. Yeah.
whether it's broccoli or, I mean,
Mm,
broccoli, I think it's modified in some way.
mm,
Um, but when we were eating plants, it was coming from soil which was rich in minerals.
mm.
Now, because of the heavy use of pesticides and all the other stuff, spraying in the sky, the soil is depleted of anything. So you're
Absolutely.
eating you're eating all this stuff. It fills your stomach. You've got all the fiber, but actually the nutrient, um, it doesn't have the nutrients we need
No.
anymore.
No.
And I think this is because I really was thinking about, why carnivore diet helps for so many people. And I think there's a couple of elements here. So first of all, by simplifying the way you eat, you remove like a huge amount of toxic stuff by just sticking to meat. Now, bear in mind the meat needs to be clean because we
Mm.
also have an issue there with antibiotics and whatever else, right? So, pasture raised, grass fed, grass finished is something I eat and I recommend to my clients. But basically, by just going carnivore, you're removing all this other stuff where it's a lot harder to control that intake of the pesticides and the chemicals, right?
Mm.
And also, you're filling up the stomach with all this stuff. God knows how long it's been sitting on the shelf. So not only it comes from a depleted soil, which doesn't have much, but then it sits on the shelf for a couple of weeks,
Mm.
and then it's those are pretty much empty calories. No wonder people are malnourished.
Mm.
And I think this is why carnivore diet potentially works that well because it's high, it's a very high condensation of nutrients when you have the steak, when you have the rice.
Absolutely. Because like
Right?
you mentioned a key word there, free foods. When we look at the likes of vegetables, and fruits. You'll hear on a regular basis, these are free foods and these are healthy. Okay, this is what you'll hear. But when you look at something like an apple or fruit in general, people will say that these fruits contain fructose, which they do. And most fruits won't have an impact on your blood sugar. That's only if they contain fructose. But these fruits don't contain just fructose. They also contain glucose and sucrose. And when you do your research on sucrose, how is sucrose made? It's table, I think it's table sugar, and it's made from cane sugar. So this is what's going to impact your blood sugar. So when people say to me that fruit is not going to impact your blood sugar, okay, maybe it won't go up because you have the skin on it, which contains the fiber. Okay, but if you peel the skin off and just eat the apple on its own, you wear a CGM, okay, and you let me know what happens to your blood sugar is going to go up.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So when we look at what people are saying about the fiber, and they're saying, okay, if you're having these problems and you're having these blood sugar spikes, okay, add in more fiber, and this will actually solve the problem. But where's the problem coming from in the first place? You know what I mean?
Mm.
The blood sugar elevation is coming from sugar, carbohydrates. This is how your blood sugars get elevated on a daily basis. So now this is chronic insulin elevation here. So if you have chronic insulin levels, this is what leads to insulin resistance. This is what drives me crazy about the fitness industry, is everybody's blaming this chronic illness pandemic that we're all going through at the moment, and they're all saying that, okay, we don't know what's causing this. This is down to insulin resistance. This has nothing to do with insulin resistance. Nothing. The problem is down to your diets, okay? The seed oils, the carbohydrates, the overconsumption of carbohydrates. Way too many sugars in your body, way too many, okay? When you consume way too much sugar, this is going to impact insulin. This is when insulin becomes a problem, when it becomes chronic. That key word there, chronic. When it becomes chronic, you have serious problems. That's when you run into issues. That's when you notice that your body's fatigued, you're lacking energy, you're getting issues like type 2 diabetes, you're obese. I mean, the list goes on and on. Arthritis, you're having inflammation, you're having issues with it, like joint pain, back pain, your sleep has been disrupted. I mean, there's so many we can talk about here. So many. This is what we need to be looking at here, your diet. The diet that you're on at the moment is causing the problems. And you've been told that's not the diet. You've been told that it's not down to sugar. I've been told many times that type 2 diabetes has nothing to do with sugar. Nothing.
Mm.
And when you think about type 2 diabetes is diagnosed when your blood sugars are chronically elevated. Blood glucose is chronically elevated. That's what it is. Okay, but these experts will say to you, it has nothing to do with sugar, it's to do with fat. The reason why you're struggling is because you're consuming too much fat. Now, if you're mixing sugar and fat together, then yeah, you've got a problem. Because we know we can't be that's where we're eating too much junk food, because they
Mm.
contain a shitload of sugars and a shitload of bad fats, like really, really bad fats. That's the problem right there. The problem is not fat on its own. Fat on its own was never the problem. Never. Okay. What's the problem is this: when you're having a steak or a burger, or you're having eggs in the morning for your breakfast, what else are you having with these foods?
Bread.
Bread, orange juice,
Mm.
cereal,
Mm.
chips, pasta, potatoes. That's the problem right there. You look at our vegetables, fruits. This is the problem. This is the problem right here. You're having your desserts, you're drinking your alcohol. It's not the red meat on its own. It's not the
Mm.
it's not the
I also,
satur
I
it's
also
not the
thought so.
saturated fat on its own.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I still think that the toxicity, dehydration, acidosis are, from my standpoint, are the main root causes, because actually, when you think about it, by what you advise to your customer, to your clients, it does reduce this toxicity load. And then if we have a high toxicity load, then this toxicity interferes with mitochondria, with cells.
Yep.
It disrupts the hormone receptors, particularly
Yes.
estrogen. It burdens the livers, it burdens the kidneys, the gut. And basically, the body is just trying to neutralize and store those toxins. This is actually when weight gain comes into place, because a lot of the weight gain is storing the toxins.
Yes.
Because the body
100%.
is no longer able to process it. Now, when you think about because of the toxic load, then we become dehydrated. So we have poor circulation and the lymph flow because the organs are not functioning anymore, which means we cannot eliminate those toxins. The blood thickens, and which means it doesn't carry the oxygen anymore, so we become tired, and the nutrients are not being properly distributed. We lose the ability to flush out the hormones, the toxins, and also the acidity. So then if that happens, again, it's a domino effect, right? So we had the first one, the second one, and then what happens in the body afterwards, it leads to acidosis.
Yes.
And in a state of acidosis is basically a thriving environment for chronic disease, including cancer. Cancer cannot survive an alkaline environment. So what acidosis is, for anyone who's not familiar with the term, it's basically all the metabolic acids accumulate in the system. And then because of the high acidosis, it actually draws the minerals from the bones and the tissues to buffer this, because the body is going to try and maintain slightly alkaline state. So then we move, the cells go into a stressed levels, and it creates ineffective metabolic state. So then everything is upside down, and the whole endocrine system changes.
Exactly. Yeah.
And the receptors are not working the way they're supposed to be working, and everything just goes crazy because the system doesn't know what's going on. So that's what's basically happening.
No, you're 100% correct. 100% correct, because this is we need to understand there's two main stresses here. There's oxidative stress and there's metabolic stress. What I'm focusing on is more metabolic. What you're talking about is more oxidative, because
Oxidative stress, yes.
it's more external. And this is what it comes down to. It's like we're surrounded by all this shit.
Yeah.
It's literally it's everywhere. I only had a lady on my podcast there, or I think it was last week. I think last week or the week before, and we were talking about mold that's in her home, and she couldn't understand why she was getting sick on a regular basis. She's been on carnivore now for just over 2 years, and she was absolutely convinced that she's eating healthy, she's training well, and then she started talking to me about mold in her home. It's really, really bad. And I said, well, this is the reason we're here. Like that mold that's in your home, you need to clean that. You need to clean that as quick as possible,
Yes.
because that's what's causing the problems right here.
Yes.
It's
exactly.
it's so that's what I'm saying. It's all around us. It's not just happening, and you need to look at what you're putting in your skin as well. All these
Oh,
creams, all these
absolutely.
moisturizers. You know what
So
I mean?
many endocrine disruptors. It's
Yeah,
like the list is endless.
because you can eat perfectly well and train perfectly well, but again, if you're using all this crap on your skin, this can actually give your body all this toxins as well.
And I just want to, for viewers and listeners, I just want to point out that water is also extremely important, because what we drink, if you guys drink tap water, please look into what is in tap water, because it's not just chlorine. They have to use chlorine to make the water drinkable. They have to filter it. But what the filtration for the public water cannot take out are pharmaceuticals. All the birth control pills, this all stays in the water. And then as a result, when you think about, the amount of this we consume on a daily basis just by drinking water, no wonder that the testosterone levels in male have dropped to like the all-time low.
Mm,
Also, young girls as young as 9 years old reaching puberty, this is all
mm,
excess estrogen.
mm.
And this is all
Absolutely.
coming from water.
100%.
Another thing, if you're thinking about, okay, I'm not going to drink tap water, I'm going to drink bottled water, then you're consuming microplastic, which is another
Exactly.
endocrine
Yeah.
disruptor. So it's a vicious
That's
circle.
that's yeah, that's a whole nother other conversation.
It's
A
another
whole nother
conversation.
conversation.
And
Yeah,
and the thing is, you cannot out supplement any of this.
exactly. Yeah. You really can't. I mean, your body, at the end of the day, the most important thing is this. Your body is designed to heal itself.
Yes.
It really is. Think about it. When you cut yourself, what happens to the wound?
Yeah.
It
Exactly.
heals. After an hour or two, it begins to heal itself. Your
Hmm.
body can do the same thing if you put the right steps in place. And this is what we've been speaking about for the last hour or so, is that if you put the right steps in place and really focus on all of these key areas, then you'll be very, very surprised what your body can do.
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
really can. So we're not saying, myself and Elvira here are not doctors. We're not saying you should come off your medication. We're not saying
No.
that whatsoever. But what I'm saying here is this: health does not come from a bottle.
Hmm.
Period. End of story. End of story. There's no medication out there, okay, that's gonna fix your health better than a healthy lifestyle, feeding your body the right way, and just doing the right steps. Put the right steps in place and let's see what happens. And if this helps and everything has improved in your life, then you need to ask yourself this question. And I want you to really, really think about this. Why do I need to be put on medication in the first place? Why do I need to go and see my doctor in the first place?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's that's
Exactly.
that's pretty
Hmm.
much it. That's all I'll say to people is take action. Okay, do this research on yourself and let's just see what happens. Because that's what I did, that's what you did, and now look where we are.
And trust that your body actually knows how to heal itself, but you are giving the right environment, the right framework. It's basically enabling your body to heal itself. That's all.
100%.
We just need to remove all this crap,
That's
and
that's
then
what
you'll
that's all we
see
need
the
to do.
miracles happen.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I'm going to be respectful of your time, but before I let you
Thank you.
go, where can people go to find you?
You can find me on Instagram. My account is called Return to Balance. And yeah, if anybody else wants more
Are you only
information.
on Instagram, or do you have YouTube or anything like that?
No, I'm still, I'm a little bit camera shy. This is my first podcast actually. So I haven't ventured out to other mediums just yet. So just on
Well, you did.
Instagram.
Well, you did very, very well. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here too.
No problem, and I wish you all the best with your whatever you're doing. And we need more voices like yourself in the world. So let's get you on camera very, very soon.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Mark.
Okay, so look after yourself, and I'll speak to you very soon.
Bye, everyone.
Okay, bye bye, bye bye.